For over 10 years, I thought Candida was the problem. I spent thousands on supplements, kept restricting my diet, tried every antifungal, even some that people would consider dangerous, eliminated more and more foods, at one point living on a very limited range of food. And despite all of it, I got worse, much worse. But the thing that finally changed my situation completely wasn't another supplement, or diet, or antifungal. It was realizing that I'd been trying to fix the wrong thing. I spent a decade trying to kill Candida and fungal overgrowth because I believed that was the problem. And here's what I realized that changed everything. Candida and fungal overgrowth were not the problem, at least not in the way most of us think it is. That single realization changed the entire direction of my healing journey. Because after a decade of trying to fight and force my body back to health, I discovered the thing I should have been trying to heal all along. And in this video, I'm going to share exactly what that is, what I got wrong all those years, plus the strangest part. You see, the thing that helped me most wasn't something I added. It was something I stopped doing. I'll explain that in a minute. I will share the 4 things that finally allowed my body to recover naturally. Because if you're where I was, exhausted, overwhelmed, and feeling like you've tried everything, this might save you years of pain and frustration, trial and error. Let's start at the beginning. Looking back, I can see exactly where things began to unravel. At the time, I had no idea. I was a new mom, I was running one business, and in the process of opening a second in another town. I left the city we'd called home and moved somewhere completely different. Everything about it was a culture shock. It was a lot of change happening all at once. So much pressure, so much responsibility, and I was trying to absorb it all. So I kept pushing through, because that's what most of us do. When symptoms first started appearing, I didn't think much of them. A little fatigue, a little bloating, a skin flare here and there. Food sensitivities, although a weird phenomenon for me, I just ignored them anyway, thinking they will pass. Occasional brain fog. Nothing too dramatic, I thought. But then another symptom appeared, one that hit hard: hair loss. It was alarming because it wasn't transient. Although it was gradual to begin with, something you could easily write off as stress. But then it got more and more aggressive. It was impossible to ignore, not just for me, but everyone else around me. I was constantly searching for answers, going from doctor to doctor, researching late into the night, trying different products, different supplements, looking for the thing that would finally make everything make sense. Then things got worse, yet again, much worse. I ended up in hospital with pneumonia. This was a clear sign that I was pushing myself to the extreme. Unfortunately, things took a turn for the worse after my hospital stint. I was given intravenous antibiotics for the 5 days I spent there. Although I believe it saved my life in that moment, it also contributed to the slow downfall that followed. Shortly afterwards, a cascade of symptoms came upon me in succession that were impossible to shake. Fatigue so debilitating that getting out of bed felt like climbing a mountain. Rashes not only on my arms and hands but my face and around my eyes, and what seemed like a permanent nasal drip. The hair loss got worse and I was living off a basic food list. Nobody could explain why all of these symptoms were happening. I remember feeling frustrated because all I wanted was to fix it and get back to my life. I wanted something to make the symptoms disappear because I still had businesses to run, children to raise, responsibilities. I didn't want to be dealing with all this. It felt like such a nuisance. I felt like I was letting everyone down, including myself. I just wanted my life back. But the harder I tried to solve the symptoms, the more trapped I became. By this point, my world had become so small. My food choices were extremely limited, and I hardly socialized. I remember thinking, is this what the rest of my life is going to be like? Because every time I made progress, something would flare up again. My world was getting smaller and smaller. Eating out became stressful. I was constantly thinking about symptoms, constantly analyzing my body and what I ate, constantly wondering what was wrong with me. And that's when I made the mistake that kept me stuck for years. The mistake was that I focused intensely on symptoms. If a food caused a reaction, I cut it out. If I had a flare-up, I would remove the products I used, whether on my face, my body, or cleaning products. If a supplement helped temporarily, I searched for a stronger one. Everything was external. The problem was caused by external sources outside of me, and the cure was outside of me. I was convinced that if I could just kill the Candida, everything else would fall into place. I never asked why it had overgrown in the first place. I just kept thinking that I needed the right kill or eliminate method. But the harder I tried to heal, I was tired, hopeless, frustrated, and overwhelmed. But people depended on me, so I had to find a solution. First thing I realized was that I was asking the wrong question. Instead of asking, how do I get rid of these symptoms? I should have been asking, why is my body unable to heal? That one question changed my perception, shifting my focus away from symptoms to looking at the underlying conditions allowing them to persist. That's where I made the most important discovery of my entire journey. The big discovery was my nervous system. I wasn't thinking about stress or survival mode or the impact it has on my whole body and mind. I wasn't thinking about how the body responds when it doesn't feel safe. But when I looked honestly at my life, it was so obvious. My body was constantly on high alert, hypervigilant, stressed, on edge, always scanning for the next problem, the next worry. Whatever I was doing, work, rest, play, or trying to heal, it was set to high alert. The emergency siren was always going. How can you heal when you are constantly preempting the next disaster? I was expecting my body to prioritize healing and repair when I'm telling it to beware something bad is coming. Imagine telling your body to stay calm and rest when a bear is about to attack. A body in that state prioritizes protection, and rightly so. Not healing, not rest, not repair, no supplement. No diet, no antifungal can solve that. My body needed something entirely different. It needed safety. And that was the first domino that started everything else moving in the right direction. Once I understood that, everything began to make sense. I stopped looking for a magic bullet. I stopped looking for miracle supplements. And I focused on creating the right internal conditions. It became clear that healing followed a sequence. It begins with a calm and regulated nervous system. This is the foundation because once the nervous system is on board, everything else you do will land. Then you can begin supporting and repairing the gut. After that, I focused on improving the body's ability to process and eliminate waste efficiently. Then finally, on rebuilding and supporting a healthy microbiome. For the first time, I wasn't guessing. I had a roadmap, where each phase laid the foundation for the next. And things began to change. The changes weren't overnight. And that's important to understand. It wasn't as an instant fix because over the years my body had adapted to my nervous system dysregulation. But it didn't take long before simple daily exercises trained it to calm down, feel safe, and release the tension and stress caused by years of survival mode. It was a process. But for the first time, I was moving in the right direction. The crushing fatigue lifted. My energy returned. The bloating reduced and the rashes faded. I was clear-headed and decisive, something I had lost. Foods that once caused reactions became less problematic. And I started feeling like myself again, actually better. The confirmation that my health had turned a corner was when my hair grew back. It was dense, not falling out, strong, and my hairline was back, framing my face. Through this painful lived experience, I learned invaluable lessons about health and the human body that I would never have grasped so powerfully otherwise. 10 years. That's how long it took me. 10 years of trying to force healing through external methods. 10 years of believing nonsense I was told, like my hair won't grow back, I'll never be able to enjoy food the way I used to, or that these symptoms are part of getting older. If this video saves even one person from losing the next decade of their life the way I did, then sharing this story was worth it. Today, I eat what I want. I have more energy than I did in my younger years. I no longer live in fear of food. I no longer spend my days obsessing over symptoms. I have my life back, and that's really what healing gave me. Freedom. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, it's this. Your body is not your enemy. Symptoms are not proof that your body is broken. More often than not, they're simply messages. Signals the body sends when it is trying to get your attention because something deeper needs it. The goal isn't to fight harder. The goal is to ask, what do I need to change to create the right conditions for healing? That's what finally changed everything for me. If you'd like to learn more, I've put together a free ebook called How I Overcame Recurring Candida and Fungal Overgrowth Naturally. You'll find the link below. And if this story resonated with you, let me know in the comments. What's the symptom or health challenge you've been struggling with the longest? I'd love to hear your story too.